The women's 4x100 meter relay. Look at the lead runner for Washington State, Trina Higgins. Oregon will be on the inside in lane 5. Stacy Robson to lead it off. Nicole Commissiong second. Aisha Wallace third. Tish Hennis will run the anchor for the Ducks. And for Washington State, Trina Higgins, LaTroya Mucker, Tamika Brown, and Francesca Green. Oregon running in lane 5, Washington State lane 6. There a look at Stacy Robson, who will lead things off for the Ducks.
As an athlete, this is really kind of a strange way to run the 4x1 because you usually have 8 teams out there. You have people on both sides of you. You got all kinds of commotion, but with just 2 teams like this, it's almost more like a practice. You just want to get the baton around and try not to make any major mistakes.
Taking them a little bit wider to the outside of the track. Normally you'd think maybe 4-5 instead of 5-6.
Yeah, that's odd as well, but it shouldn't really be a factor on who. National qualifier.
Robson has a PR of 12:72 for the 100. Four by 100 relay. Higgins off to a strong start. Robson a little slow out of the blocks, but the two of them running pretty even right now.
Here's the equalizer, though. Nicole Commissiong on the second leg. You always put your fastest person on the second leg so that they can run the straight. LaTroya Mucker ran a great leg there.
Very solid second leg as she'll give to Tamika Brown. Aisha Wallace will take the baton for Oregon.
Good handoffs, both teams.
Francesca Green waiting for Washington State has a bit of a lead on Tish Hennis as they head for home.
And if Francesca gets the baton in front, there's really no catching her. Those are excellent baton exchanges for Washington State University as well as Oregon, but as a team, Washington State just overpowered them. Too much speed right there.
Good early season work for Washington State as they get the 5 points in the 4x100 relay. That's just some of the action that you'll be seeing today as the Ducks and the Cougars square off, resume their rivalry here at Hayward Field. One of the things, of course, when you cover a track and field meet, you've got to have an expert analyst who knows the track events. You need to have an expert analyst for the field events. We put our heads together, said let's come up with someone who knows a little bit about everything. And he's had some success here at Hayward Field, going back to his high school days in '84. Even in the indoors, 7 feet in the high jump for the first time back in '92. The Olympic gold medalist and the decathlon world record holder in the event. Dan O'Brien, welcome aboard. It's a pleasure to have you with us here today.
Glad to be here. I wouldn't miss this one for the world. Whether I was announcing or just watching, I was going to be here.
This is a great showdown between these two schools. So much tradition and a couple of coaches who respect that. Bill Dellinger at Oregon and Rick Sloan now in his second year as the head coach at Washington State.
Well, we've seen track and field come full circle. Last year we saw the world's fastest man, 2 guys getting together. Now in college track and field, we're seeing the dual meet come back in. Rick Sloan's been around for years in this dual meet conference, and I think the Pac-10 really holds the dual meet to be really sacred. And these are two of probably the strongest dual meet teams in the country.
A lot of top performers. Many of them have already established some impressive marks here early in the season. First on the men's side, let's take a look at some of our key performers we'll be seeing in action today. Legat and Macias for Washington State, Mortimer and Buciarski for Oregon.
Well, these are subject to change, but Guillermo Macias is mainly a 400-meter runner. Washington State put him in the 1 and the 2 this week just to get some points. This will be Bernard Legat's or Kip Legat's first steeplechase. It'll be interesting to see how he does against Micah Davis. Jody Mortimer told me yesterday that he could do 5 events today, maybe 6 if they need him to. And Piotr Buciarski, he's just an awesome athlete. He long jumped last year at the Pac-10 meet and got 3rd. There's no telling what that guy can do.
Also scheduled to be on the relay team as well. On the women's side, a good showdown as well. Washington State defeating Oregon a year ago for the first Cougar women's victory in this series. And really, we'll look at the strengths here first, Dan. For the Cougars, a good sprint squad. For Oregon, traditionally a distance power. They may meet in the middle a little bit, and a key showdown is in the 800 between Buterbaugh and Crabb.
Well, I think Alicia Buterbaugh, we call her Boots at Washington State, she really hasn't been challenged all year indoors until she got outdoors last week at Stanford. Coach Sloan wanted to get the women's sprints at Washington State up, and Oregon is always really strong in the distance events.
A lot of pivotal events as well out in the field. Some key marks will be set there. And joining us with special emphasis on the field events today is Bob Akamian.
That's right, and as Dan can tell you, the often unappreciated field events. We're going to give you a little extra coverage of that today. We're going to start by talking about the big man, the Pac-10 champion, Ian Waltz. He's a guaranteed 10 points for the Cougs in both the shot and the discus. The Ducks are going to try to just keep up with him. Women's pole vault, brand new collegiate event this year. The Ducks have a very good one. Possible Pac-10 champion Karina Elstrom has already gone 12.7 and a half. They think 13 feet would win the conference championship this year. A lot of good jumpers for the men and the women. And along in the triple jump, a great duel being set up. Hillary Mawindi of the Cougars will take on his nemesis, Greg Bleakney of Oregon, in the triple. And, of course, Jody Mortimer will challenge in both the long jump and the triple jump. It's time to get back to action on the track, though. Let's go back to Dan and Todd for the start of the men's 4x100-meter relay.
Thanks very much, Bob. Look forward to getting updates from you throughout our event today. Let's take a quick look as well at our team scoring for this dual meet. 5-3-1 in the individual events. In the relays, though, it's 5-0, all or nothing in the relays. And speaking of relays, we're set now for the men's 4x100-meter relay. Leading things off for Washington State, Jermaine Hunsaker from Los Angeles. He will be teamed with Aaron Watkins, Colin Jewell, and Guillermo Macias. For Oregon, Anusha Vixatep will lead things off. Nat Johnson will run the second leg now. Jason Mayo third, and Jody Mortimer fourth, as we've again had a few shifts, which is not uncommon, of course, in an early season dual meet. A look there at Vixatep. Outstanding long jumpers for the Ducks as well. Men's 4x100-meter relay.
And we have a fair start as we welcome the Washington State Victorious women's team down the front straightaway.
Vixatep very strong out of the blocks, Dan.
He really was, just a little bit ahead of Jermaine there. Aaron Watkins, a high hurdler from Washington State, got the baton second, but he's getting eaten up on the inside by Nat Johnson.
Very strong legs, 7th in the Pac-10 in the long jump, but he shows good speed there as well. Jason Mayo running third, stretches the lead a little bit more on Colin Jewell. Macias will have a tough battle now with Mortimer in the anchor leg.
Mortimer's a good sprinter. We saw that in the hunt. We saw that in the long jump.
Forget about it, Jody Mortimer. You saw the applause from Mayo after the handoff, and Mortimer will steam home with the victory, unofficially 41-57 for the Ducks. About a second and a half outside of NCAA provisional qualifying time, and 5 points in the men's 4x100 relay going to the Oregon Ducks.
Good handoffs, no mistakes. That's what won that race for the Ducks right there.
Shove, Moose.
Let's take a look at one of the exchanges here, Dan.
Well, the Cougars have been struggling all week in practice with this handoff. Aaron Watkins,
Whoa,
this is his first week running the relay, and you know, you put a new guy in there, you're bound to have some trouble sometime.
That was a nice save by Colin Jewell as he held onto the baton, but the Ducks come up with the win in the relay. More from Hayward Field after this timeout on Fox Sports Net. And underway now, the men's 3,000 meters, and a bit of a switch as we go in, and the expected showdown, Dan, that we were looking for with Bernard Legat and Micah Davis not going to happen as Legat's been scratched from the steeple.
Well, they moved him into the 800 because Rosto Kiplagat had the flu, and we'll also see Kiplagat in the 1500, which is his specialty.
Quick look at the lane assignments. Hill in 1, Allwine in 2, Knudsen in 3, Matson in 4, Micah Davis third in the Pac-10 in this event last year, and an All-American in 5. He is the favorite and is out in front of the field as they come by the start-finish line and over the barriers for the first time.
Micah Davis was somebody that Washington State tried to get as he finished his high school in Meade, Washington, Spokane, Washington. But a lot of those kids from the Spokane area go to predominantly running schools like Stanford and the University of Oregon. So he's looking good right now. And
his first run at this distance this year, and his career best time is some 11 seconds better than the remainder of the field coming in.
That highly anticipated showdown between he and Kiplagat. I think everybody was really wondering, what can Kip do in the steeple? The Kenyans can really do anything they want. I know that Kip practiced all week in the steeple just so that he could get used to some of these hurdles. And you know, they needed the points, but Rostow coming up with the flu, they moved him over to the other event. So this is gonna shape up to be a interesting way that Oregon gets their points and Washington State gets their points in the other events.
Dan, a little job here of sharing the work up front between Knutson and Davis as they trade the lead.
Well, they got such a big lead right now. I don't think they're really going to tax themselves, especially with Micah Davis coming back to run that 5,000 meters later this afternoon.
A little bit of a tailwind as they come down the stretch as well. And the two of them out comfortably now, as you mentioned, on the remainder of the pack. Real comfortable stride here early in the season. Both Knutson and Davis looking very relaxed.
Well, the key in the steeplechase is a lot like the 400-meter hurdles. People really don't realize that you need to get your steps correct as you go into these hurdles. As you come over the water jump, your steps need to be timed correctly so that you don't stumble and lose time. 1 foot in the water, 1 foot out, as we see there as they come through the water jump. Very good technique. Micah Davis moving up on the outside now. He'll take a lap and pace for a lap. The customary rhythmic clapping here at Hayward Field for the University of Oregon.
Chance here too, you might think, Dan, with this lead, where if Knutson can stay on Davis, let him do a little bit of work, he might be able to lower his PR, get a shot at some qualifying marks. So Davis might work to Knutson's advantage, helping his teammate.
Oh, absolutely. You know, not only that, we talked about Micah Davis coming back for the 5,000 meters later. If these guys can get far enough ahead, maybe Knutson will go ahead and take the lead. I'm not really sure that Micah, you know, cares to get the win as long as they get the points in this event. It looks like, you know, there's going to be a really good battle to see who gets that last point there for the 3rd place. We got Josh Matson and Eric Allwine of Washington State. Every point is essential. Last year the Cougars won by 1 point, so you know you need to get all the points you possibly can.
Davis and Knutson continuing to lead and extending that lead quite comfortably. Hitting the 4-minute mark now as they come by the line once again. 4 laps remaining in the race. Dan, they've built a lead of almost close to 100 meters now as they continue to stretch it out. Look at the remainder of the pack in behind.
Well, I think this is what they really wanted to do, was take it out early. Whether Kip Legat was in the race or not, they wanted to get out early and really stress the rest of the field. And you know, there's only the 3 other guys in the field, but now they can take a look around and work on some technique, try to run certain pace for these last few laps.
While we wait for the steeple to finish, let's go down quickly to Bob Akamian with a look at some women's field events.
The Ducks have had the best 1-2 punch in the nation the past couple of years in the women's javelin, certainly a year ago, and it showed again today. Katie Piermine, season best, 156.3 on her 3rd attempt, as the Oregon women establish some early dominance in this event. And where Katie goes, her teammate, Karis Howell, will follow. Howell's 3rd toss, and she got it done early. It would be an all-time best for her, 168.1. Howell and Piermine lead a 1-2 run for Oregon in women's javelin. Anna Church of the Cougs finishes 3rd with a provisional qualifying mark of 154.9.
Updating the hammer throw, Kevin Moore of Washington State is the leader, 190 feet 3 inches.
And the official results, Howell, Piermine, and Church, all 3 of them headed for the Pac-10s, and all 3 have a very good shot of going to the NCAA championship meet. Now to the long jump. We said this would be a great showdown. Here's the redshirt sophomore, Francesca Green, for WSU, competing in 4 events, coming off a huge indoor season. She's been over 20 feet in the long jump, and her 2nd jump looked good, 19.7 for this mark, with still more to come. So Green looked very solid early on in the competition. But the Ducks had their own multi-event specialist, the heptathlete senior Jennifer Thomas. Already got a provisional qualifying meet in the HEP down at Tucson last week. Her 5th attempt. Green still in the lead in the 5th round, and Jennifer Thomas nails it. 19 feet, 8 inches, a season best, and Thomas gets a big victory for Oregon in the long jump. The Ducks finish 1st and 3rd and go 6-3. Hillary Hawley puts together her best jump series of her career, 19-2, good enough for 3rd. Now, for the end of the steeplechase, let's go back upstairs. Todd Pickett and Dan O'Brien.
Thanks very much, Bob. We're on the bell lap right now. Micah Davis well out in front for Oregon. Conrad Knudsen in 2nd. Davis trying to get a good mark, and he's just over the 8-minute mark right now, Dan. For an early season steeple, he's turning in a fine performance.
Well, the weather today wasn't all that great. It's a little windy on the back straight. He looks like he ran comfortable the whole way, wasn't challenged at all. Knudsen will end up with a pretty good time if he can just hang in there as well. Here we see the last water jump. Great technique. And we'll see him a little later in the 5,000 meters. This was an easy win for him. I think this is exactly what Oregon was looking for.
Into a full sprint, he's going to be just outside the NCAA automatic qualifying time of 8:44, it appears. The provisional mark is 8:54. He's very close to the automatic, unofficially right now at 8:44, so he'll miss it by scant seconds, and an unofficial finishing time of 8:46.94, a career best, a PR by a little over a second, and a good time as well for Knudsen coming in 2nd. A 1-2 finish for Oregon in the steeplechase.
I think that's exactly what he wants to see early this season. Fast race like that, you know, a couple weeks, he's going to be able to drop under that NCAA automatic time easily.
An All-American in the event a year ago. Washington State's Eric Allwine will take 3rd. His first steeplechase of the year. 8 more points to the Oregon men's tally, and a fine victory in the steeplechase for Micah Davis. Next up, the women's 3,000 meters, and the young lady at the back of your screen with the distinctive yellow ribbon is the one to watch as we get set for this event. All-American Marie Davis. The class of this field as we take a look at the lane assignments for the women's 3,000 meters. Crystal Malgacini of Washington State in 1, Heather McMahon of Oregon in 2, Megan Maynard for the Cougars in 3, Liz Howell in 4, Hunsinger in 5, and Marie Davis just a little over a second off of her personal record with a 9:20 early in the season, but by far the best in this field. 5th in the Pac-10 at this distance a year ago, and 8th at the NCAAs.
Well, the big question today is how can those Washington State athletes break up the sweep here of the Oregon runners? I don't really think anybody's going to really challenge Marie Davis, but can the Washington State athletes like Joanne and Megan, can they break up the sweep here? And that's probably the most important thing that the Cougars want to accomplish in this race.
Megan Maynard is the best of the Washington State trio in this race, but her personal best is some 7 seconds off the slowest of the 3 Oregon runners, Liz Howell. Davis, an outstanding cross-country runner as well, has been a consistent performer really for this program ever since she arrived from Lincoln High School in Portland. A real sense for her too, Dan, that this may be the year where she's ready to accomplish even more than what she did a year ago.
Well, that's what it's all about, just getting better every year and, you know, pushing to the next level. And I think from what you hear from everybody, she's got what it takes to go to the next level, not only as an NCAA performer, but as a U.S. performer as well.
Davis out in front of the pack here early, but tightly bunched thus far as they'll come around for the second time. Davis in front, Howell running comfortably on her shoulder. Hunsinger in 3rd. Running right alongside of McMahon's, the two of them sharing the 3rd place mark.
Marie ran a 1500 6-second PR in the 1500 last week at Stanford, so you know she's got a lot of speed. Looks now like she's just taking it easy. She might wait till 3 or 4 laps to go and then just start to stretch it out a little bit. She does have such a better personal best than everybody else in the field.
And she really has a great deal of range too, Dan. She doubled at the Pac-10s a year ago at the 3K and the 5K, and as you said, running that 15, a lot of versatility, a lot of ability to do speed work at all 3 of those distances then.
She probably could run a grade 8, and I wouldn't be surprised if Oregon got in a pinch with her on that 4x4.
If they get in a real pinch, see if she might pick up a pole vault or something too on top of it. Davis again setting the pace. The Ducks in a 1-2-3 position as the women's 3,000 meters continues. We'll have more action from Hayward Field after this timeout. Hayward Field, about 2 laps to go now in the women's 3,000, and Washington State threatening to come up with a way to break a possible 1-2-3 Oregon sweep. Marie Davis out in front. She already has NCAA provisional qualifying marks in this race as well as the 1500. Heather McMahon is in second place, and Joanne Hunsinger of Washington State, in her first run at this distance this year, is in third. She has a PR of 10:13.61, so she's turning in a very strong performance right now, Dan, as she continues to hang right with Heather McMahon.
Well, she really is. Marie made a big spurt with about 2 laps to go. She lengthened her lead. It looks to be about 15 or 20 meters, and she keeps opening that lead. But I think if Joanne can just hang on here, really challenge for second place like she's doing right now with a lap to go, she could definitely break up the 1-2 sweep.
I want to make a quick correction here. They did leave a mark for Hunsinger off. She ran a 9:59.74 last week at Stanford. So she lowered that PR significantly and was under 10 as you look at Marie Davis stretching her lead out as she heads down for the bell lap.
With 2 laps to go, she was on about 9:30 pace. Now with 1 lap to go, she seems to be picking it up quite a bit.
9:39 is the provisional qualifying time for Davis as she hits the 8:30 mark right now. Hunsinger continuing to battle with McMahon in second. McMahon and Hunsinger, that's second and third right now as they head up the back stretch. Again, Marie Davis looking to lower her mark. 9:20 even is her best in the race this year. Shirley has not broken away from that comfortable stride throughout the race, Dan. She's been in control even when they were tightly bunched as a pack.
Well, it's kind of cool today, and I don't think any of the athletes really are running comfortable. It's a little tight, but she looks very comfortable as she comes down the home stretch here. All alone out in front, and we see the race for second shaping up.
Fans up on their feet trying to bring her home. This will not be a season best for her as she comes across unofficially in just under 9:37. Second place will go to Heather McMahon. Third place to Joanne Hunsinger, who may have gotten another PR with that run for Washington State. A fine performance. Marie Davis with another victory for Oregon in the 3,000 as the All-American leads a 1-2 duck finish. Picking up Heather McMahon there, a little exhausted as she really had to battle all the way around to hold off Joanne Hunsinger.
Well, Joanne just looks better as every week goes by. She had a good race at Stanford last week. I think she should be proud of that race this week. She broke up the 1-2-3 sweep. I don't think Washington State could ask for anything more. The Oregon runners dominant as usual, led by that woman right there.
Be seeing plenty more of that woman as the season goes along, and a quick reminder, you'll be seeing plenty more sports action tonight at 10, Fox Sports News Prime Time. All the scores, all the stories, complete wrap-up of everything that takes place in the world of sports. You can catch it on Fox Sports News tonight and every weeknight at 10 o'clock right here on Fox Sports Net. Let's head down to Bob Akamian for a look at the women's pole vault activity. Bob?
In its very first year as a collegiate sport, women's pole vault is quickly evolving. Karina Elstrom, one of the few collegians with some high school experience, easily over 10'2", her opening height. She will push it a lot higher today. Again, she's gone 12-7 indoors and expects to be a major Pac-10 contender. The Ducks hoping to go 1-2 in the vaults. Women's high jump, Nonlak Somsoneth attempting a personal best, 5'7". This would get her into the Pac-10 championships. She makes it look easy, up and over the bar, and very happy. Somsoneth in a duel with her teammate, the Duck heptathlete Jennifer Thomas. Thomas to tie for the lead at 5'7". Jumping very clean throughout the day, and she is over. They put the bar to 5'8 3/4, but Somsoneth had to go triple jump, so they settle for the tie at 5'7". Men's 1,500 meters coming up when we return to Hayward Field.
A good race expected here. Take a look at the lane assignments as they're introducing the runners right now. Todd Humke will be in lane 2. Humke has already earned a Pac-10 qualifying mark at this distance. Bernard Kiplagat, who got an NCAA automatic qualifying mark a week ago at Stanford, is in lane 3. Switched to the 1,500. Laird Prosser is in lane 4 for Oregon. He is also a Pac-10 qualifier. Eric Kamau, an outstanding performer at this race, second in the Pac-10 a year ago. This will be his first 1,500 of the year. And in lane 6, Greg James, top runner so far this season for Oregon. He also a Pac-10 qualifier at this distance. So a lot of talented runners right here.
Lagat, part of a distance medley that set an all-time NCAA indoor record in Indianapolis this year. He anchored that and was second in the 3,000 indoors. This guy can flat out run. I know why we gave him the name Kip as soon as he got to Washington State. We thought we were going to see him in the steeple.
Lagat in the Cougar jersey closest to you, dropping back of the pack a little bit. Again, ran 3:40.79 last week at Stanford and has a lifetime best 3:37.7. But a lot of strategy with an Oregon trio that's all qualified and a couple of Cougars who have outstanding marks as well.
It really is strategy, not just in this race, but to put Kip in this race, to pull him out of the steeple at the last minute and the 5,000. And they'll probably run him in the 1,500 and maybe the 800 as well.
James ran 3:46.84 in that same race last week at Stanford. Prosser ran a 3:47.68. It's James out in front right now. Prosser in second, Kamau in third, Lagat comfortably on his shoulder in fourth.
The first lap right at about 1 minute. That's a little slow actually for Kip. I think he's just going to sit.
Starting to make a little bit move down the backstretch now as Lagat moves, well, briefly to second and is content to sort of sit on the shoulder for the time being.
Greg James, fifth at the Pac-10 meet in 1996. His best is a 3:44. All of these guys have really, really respectable times. They're on 3:45 pace right now, and that would be a provisional.
Laird Prosser leading as they come down this time. 2 laps to go. Lagat in a good position there, making sure he's not boxed at all. James running in third. Kamau in fourth.
Well, one of the good things about a 2-team dual meet is you're not going to get a lot of guys out there on the track. Only 5 or 6 at a time. 2:02 at the 800-meter mark. Not extremely fast, but still very, very respectable.
Light breeze for these runners around Hayward Field today. Now a move along the backstretch for the Ducks. Hear the roar from the crowd as well as just a very quick jump right there by James to move into the front for a moment and immediately snuffed out.
Just for a moment. And here comes chugging Eric Kamau. right behind Kip.
You mentioned before about that Kenyan style of running, and those surges, of course, always part of the strategy for Kenyan runners, regardless of the distance.
Well, they both have a lot of speed, and I don't think they really wanted to give the Oregon runners a chance here on this last lap.
Legat, Kamau, Prosser, 1, 2, 3 as we hit the bell lap. Pac-10 qualifying time, really academic here at 3:50. The provisional for the NCAA is at 3:45.5, and an automatic at 3:41.30. The Cougars stretching it out on the backside now.
You know, I do 10 events in the decathlon, but I'll tell you, I'd give it all up to run under a 4-minute mile, and these guys make it look easy.
I tried to spare you. I know how much this is one of your favorites. I didn't really want to bring it up, but yeah, Legat looking back once again, really had a lot in reserve here. Kamau getting pressured a little bit, perhaps for second. He'll have to drive hard all the way into the tape.
He really will. He looks like he's tightening up. Legat's got the race easy, but Chuggy's getting some pressure.
Almost as though he's trying to bring him in. Prosser with a third will not be able to close. It's a 1-2 finish for Washington State and a 3:44.78 unofficially for Legat. A little outside the time he ran a week ago. 1-2 finish for Washington State in the 1500. The 1500 in the books. Stay tuned when we come back to Hayward Field. The women's 100-meter hurdles as the Ducks and Cougars continue. Between Washington State and Oregon, we move now to the women's 100-meter hurdles. 3 competitors for. Look at Agneta Rosenblatt for Washington State, who's already qualified in this event. Ran a 13:94 at Stanford last week. Zapata in lane 2, Rowland in 3, Rosenblatt in 4, Thomas in 5, Higgins in 6, Abramson in 7.
Agneta from Stockholm, Sweden. She's got the freshman record in the indoor 55-meter hurdles and also the outdoor already. She just runs faster every week. And Lucida Zapata in lane 2 there is also been running very well.
Rosenblatt with a couple of Pac-10 qualifying marks. She's already qualified in the long jump as well. And Jennifer Thomas with a 14:83 best this season, 14:36 PR. And Thomas having an outstanding meet so far for the Ducks with good action in both track and field events.
Heptathletes are always the workhorse of any team, but the hurdles is one of those events where you need to be very proficient in the multi-events.
Again, it's Rosenblatt in lane 4, Thomas in lane 5. To her right, the 2 athletes to keep an eye on as we get set.
Keep an eye on Trina Higgins as well in lane 6. This is a sprinter turned hurdler, and she's really taken it serious this year, and I think she has a good future in it.
She's qualified in the 100 already and was 6th in the 100. The Pac-10's a good clean start. Rosenblatt out quickly. Zapata to the right of your screen in 2. It's Rosenblatt and Thomas and Zapata. Rosenblatt, Zapata, and Thomas. Rosenblatt will win it, and it looks very close there between Zapata and Thomas for second place.
I think Zapata got in there. Thomas was third. She was trying to battle off of Trina Higgins, but that's another excellent time for Agneta. I think she's right around the 13:97 mark.
Yes, just outside by 3/100ths of the qualifying mark she had at Stanford a week ago. But her second consecutive sub-14 performance, Dan. Very strong run. Getting ready now for the men's 110-meter hurdles.
There we get a good look at Aaron Watkins from San Jose, California. This kid has a great future in high hurdling.
Qualified for the Pac-10s last week, did Watkins with a 14:33 and an All-American indoor as well. Eric Abel in lane 2, Watkins in 5, Will Dreesen in 6, and Leo Slack in lane 7, his first action this season. Thank you.
Aaron Watkins is one of those guys that wants to race me every day at practice. He looks like he's taking it easy right now. An easy win for him. Can Slack sneak in there for third? And I think he might have.
Watkins looked to be cruising along, and then might have altered stride just a little bit. As you said, Danny was across comfortably.
I think he hit a hurdle there, and just kind of took him out of his rhythm a little bit. That's what hurdling's all about. You really can't hit that many, but this guy's got a great future at Washington State. Just needs to continue to work hard and race as often as he can.
The freshman comes up with a victory for the Cougars in the hurdles. When we return, once around the track, the women's and men's 400 meters. 100 meters, and a look at Nicole Commission, who already has a Pac-10 qualifying time in this event this year. An All-American and third in the Pac-10 400s a year ago. Nicole Henderson in 2, Commission in 3, LaTroya Mucker in 4, Tish Hennis with a good indoor time this year in 5, and Mariah Bowden in lane 6.
Tish Hennis, the 400-meter hurdler. They got her in the 400. That's what the 400-meter hurdles can do to you. Give you the strength to run this race, as well as some of the other sprints like the 200.
Commission right now the only Pac-10 qualifier among this quintet.
Yeah, we have a good start from the inside. Henderson, Commission, Mucker, Hennis, and Bowden.
LaTroya Mucker's a very strong runner. She just needs to gain confidence.
Commission already making up the stagger on her, and off to a very strong start here in the 4.
Commission said she wanted to get under 54 seconds this weekend. As she comes through the 200-meter mark, right at about 25 and a half.
Under 54 would put her right within range of a provisional qualifying mark.
She's rolling now.
Off the final turn, Commission and Hennis 1-2 out comfortably, and Hennis out in front as Commission fades down the stretch. Tish Hennis looking to set a PR here in the 400.
Very strong.
She'll just miss that, unofficially 54.9, but a little bit of a surprise there as it's Hennis knocking off the favorite Commission to make it a 1-2 victory for the Ducks in the women's 400. Back at Hayward Field as we get set to resume action here. A little bit of a development and a change in the scoring. Let's go down to Bob Bukamian for an update.
That's right, a big 10-point swing in the men's competition because the Ducks by 4 100 relay team has been disqualified. It goes back to the beginning of the third leg. Jason Mayo, a late addition to the squad, was lined up wrong. Wrong mark on the track. He's a little inexperienced running on the relays. Made an honest mistake. The officials caught it. The Ducks are DQ'd. And again, a 10-point swing for the Cougar men. In the women's competition, the triple jump was very exciting. Oregon's Nonlak Thompson is going for a double. She won the high jump already, had the lead late in the triple, but on the final jump, she was beaten by Kristen Koch of Washington State, a season high of 39.6 3/4 inches. So the Cougar women pick up the 5 points there. It's time for the start of the men's 400 meters. Let's go back to Dan and Todd.
Thanks very much, Bob, and for Kristen Koch extending her Pac-10 qualifying mark by about 1/4 of an inch beyond what she accomplished a week ago at Stanford. We move now to the men's 400 meters, and we'll set the field for you in that one. In lane 2 for Oregon will be Nat Johnson. Lane 3 for Washington State, John Cote. Lane 4, Howard Moore of Oregon, the guy to keep an eye on in this field with a 46.83 so far this year. Lane 5, Tony Olson for Washington State. Lane 6, Trent Pierce of Oregon. Lane 7, Chad Randall of Washington State.
And we have a good start from the inside.
Well, Howard Moore, definitely the class of the field here. Ran 46 seconds last week at Stanford.
That put him a second under the Pac-10 qualifying mark and about 4/10 off an NCAA provisional. So we'll see if he's able to stretch it today. Moore out very well, but also doing a great job for Oregon is Nat Johnson out strong.
Well, this is where Washington State misses Guillermo Macias. He's a 400-meter runner, but they're going to run him in the 1 and the 2 this week. The Oregon runners are way out in front now, and they look like they're running very comfortably.
It's Moore and Johnson. Randall, or rather Pierce, a late scratch for the Ducks, but Moore coming across.
Let's have a look at that time. 47.5. That's very respectable on a cold day like this. I like the way that Nat Johnson took it out. He ran very fearless. You want a tall guy to run fearless like that.
Moore a little bit disappointed as he looked up at the scoreboard, saw his finishing time as he came across, but that breeze along the backstretch, I think, playing into things a little bit there. He'd hoped to lower his mark a bit more. Stay tuned. We'll have more of our dual meet between Washington State and Oregon when we return to Eugene. You're watching Pac-10 Track and Field on Fox Sports Net. Field action continues with the women's 100 meters at Hayward Field. Some Pac-10 qualifiers in this group already, and some just on the outside of it right now. The lane assignments for the women's 100. In lane 3 for Washington State, Tamika Brown, a Pac-10 qualifier a week ago. Hillary Hawley for Oregon in lane 4. Francesca Green, who's also qualified for the Pac-10s, is in lane 5. Stacy Robson in lane 6. And Sharika Higgins, who just missed a qualifying mark a week ago, will be in lane 6. Higgins needs to lower her time of a week ago by about 14/100ths of a second to get inside that Pac-10 qualifying mark.
Here's where we really see the true depth of the Washington State University women's sprinters. Sharika Higgins is probably as fast as anybody on the 4x1 relay, but she had a little dinged up knee this week and she didn't run on that relay. She should be able to get that Pac-10 qualifier real easy.
And Higgins is already qualified in the 200 as well. A look at Francesca Green, probably the favorite in this field, but as we've seen so far today, favorites haven't always held true to form.
She was the favorite in the long jump and it got beat.
Dan, explain for folks a little bit. There's always this talk in the 100 about not pressing too far, of getting into your rhythm and your stride. Go through that a little bit for folks, what these athletes want to do coming out of the blocks.
Well, coming out of the blocks, you really want to be quick. Obviously, you want to react to the gun nice and fast, but you don't want to work too hard. People that run relaxed run faster.
Again, right to left, Brown, Hawley, Green, Robson, Higgins. Green out very strong at the start. Brown also looked very good out of the blocks for Washington State.
Tamika Brown has been running really well.
It's a 1-2-3 crimson finish, and your guess is as good as mine between Green, Brown, and then Higgins in third, but a very strong performance by both Green and Brown for the Cougars.
Well, I know Rick Sloan was really anticipating the sweep here, so I think that was some 9 very needed points right there.
Watch them come across the tape once again in the 100. We'll see it from the start, and a look there at Green in the center of your screen.
See, she's nice and relaxed. Her arms really aren't that great. We see a little better turnover with Tamika Brown in lane 1, but Fran Green did run nice and relaxed. That's what I mean by not pressing too hard.
1-2 finish for the Cougars in the women's 100 meters. And an update on the women's team score. Oregon out in front after 9 events by a 9-point margin over Washington State. And a men's update, the Cougars on top of the Ducks so far through 8. A look at some of the breeze, which has picked up a little bit since we started, Dan.
Well, we've seen it. We've seen the breeze kind of change this morning. It was swirling, and this afternoon it's predominantly a tailwind for these runners in the 100 meters.
Gauge along the way as well. They'll try to make all those marks legal. Of course, they'd love to get just enough advantage and not to knock it over or the limit as we get set for the men's 100 meters. Clay Thomas in lane 2. Pyotr Bucharski in lane 3. Guillermo Macias in lane 4. The best time so far amongst the field this season. Kevin Howard in lane 5. Colin Sewell in 6. And Jason Mayo in 7.
We're going to see now if that 400 meter, taking Guillermo Macias out of that 400 meters and putting him in the 1 and the 2 here, is going to pay off for Coach Rick Sloan as far as the points goes.
Macias, a sophomore from La Puente, California. Ran a 10.98 last week at Stanford. Again, left to right in your screen right now. Mayo, Sewell, Howard, Macias, Bucharski, and Thomas, and they'll bring him back.
The preliminary indication on that looked like it was Colin Sewell in lane 6.
That was not Colin. We'll just wait.
But we're going to get a chance to, I think we'll get a chance to see. Oh, that could be. That could be really tragic for Washington State University. I think it was Colin Sewell. So you just need all the points you can get. If Colin would have stayed in the race, he would have definitely been able to get some points.
Watch to the left of your screen.
Second from the left. He definitely jumped early. And there's the no false start rule here at the collegiate level. In the decathlon, you get 2 false starts, but here at the NCAA level, the no false start rule in single events.
Sewell, the junior from Wenatchee, originally started his collegiate career at Eastern Washington, will vacate lane 6, and we get set to do it again. Clean start this time. Macias out early. Bucharski on his heels. Now Howard coming to the left. Macias, Howard, Bucharski.
Oh, I think Macias just edged both of them out.
Then had to avoid a collision at the end as well as Bucharski went straight. Macias tried to make the turn, and I think he did get him with a good lean and a good finish.
I'll tell you, this Bucharski, he's really capable of doing quite a bit. We saw him in the long jump a little earlier. He was supposed to be on the relay, but he didn't do that. Now he'll probably walk over and just win the pole vault easily.
Watch them head into the tape one more time, and Macias being pressured on both sides. That's got to be tough too. You don't know which corner of the eye to look out of.
Oh, he was working hard. You couldn't see from there who got it, but I think from our vantage point here, it looked like Macias edged him out.
Bucharski over on the edge of the lake trying to draft as much as he could, I think. Let's get an update now for the men's long jump. We go down to Bob Akamian.
Jody Mortimer, a Duck sprinter who was held out of the 100 today as Oregon crossed him up a little bit, but the sprints was in action on the long jump runway, and he was chasing his old nemesis, Hillary Mawindi, the Pac-10 champion from Washington State. Mortimer sent a message on his very first jump of the day, 25 2 3/4, a season best. He just misses the NCAA provisional qualifying mark, but he leads a 1-2 Duck finish as guess who? Mr. Bucharski edges Mawindi for third, and the Ducks get important first and second place points in the long jump. More to come from Hayward Field, the women's 800 meters up next on the track. You're watching Pac-10 Track and Field on Fox Sports Net.
About off the top here. Katie Crabb in lane 3, Lisa Shares in 4, Robin Sutherland 5, Alicia Buterbaugh in 6, Rhiannon Glenn in 7. Crabb and Buterbaugh won their heats last week at Stanford. Buterbaugh 2:08.48, Crabb 2:08.55.
Well, I think what both these competitors need is to race against each other. They were in separate heats last week, and I know Alicia Buterbaugh, we call her Boots at Washington State University, really hasn't been challenged by anybody up, especially from Washington or Eastern Washington. People up in the Pacific Northwest where we live. So I think just more competitions in both of these women will run a lot faster.
Buterbaugh, sophomore from La Center, Washington, Battleground High School, was 7th in this event at the Pac-10s a year ago and has the early lead.
The 800 meters is probably the hardest track and field event out there. It's virtually you know, an all-out sprint for 2 laps, even harder than the mile, because you just have to run so much faster.
Halfway around, it's Buterbaugh in front, Crabb with a little bit of inside position, and Sutherland in third.
They were 1:05 at the 400-meter mark. Had to put them in at about a 2:10, but they should pick it up right here. Say the most important part of the 800 meters is that third 200 meters that we're taking a look at right now.
And they go into a headwind a little bit here as well, so Crabb may be drafting a little bit, letting Buterbaugh do a lot of the work up front.
It's going to be a sprinter's race. Who can out-sprint the other person at the end here?
Some key points on the line right here between first and second. You see Buterbaugh and Crabb out in front of the remainder of the field.
This is where the home field advantage takes over. If Crabb can get energized by the crowd coming down the home stretch, maybe she can overtake her.
The Hayward Field crowd trying to bring her home, but Buterbaugh pulling away as they come down the stretch. And it'll be Buterbaugh turning in a fine time. She will be just outside her mark of a week ago, unofficially at 2:08.74. Crabb in second place, and Robin Sutherland of Oregon takes third.
Excellent race for Alicia. She just led start to finish. Didn't even give Crabb a chance there coming down the home stretch. I thought Crabb was going to get energized by the home crowd, maybe kind of come up on the outside, but Boots was just too strong.
Tough to smile after 800, but we got a quick one there from Alicia. She is the winner of the women's 800-meter race. Back to the field events in this update from Bob Akamian.
Nice job, girl.
Well, you knew that Ian Waltz was going to have a big day. His third attempt in the shot put, no contest, 62-11 his season best. He has been improving with every meet, and he is now qualified for the NCAA championship meet. But the Ducks pick up important place points. Ryan Cole and Ryan Ingram go second and third. Waltz will be back. Imidiscus will be back with the men's 800 meters. Pac-10 track and field continues on Fox Sports Net.
Men's 800 meters. And again, a couple of key changes as we get set and take a look at the field. A young man there, Richard Gervin, in the Oregon singlet, wearing number 10. Transfer from Belfast from Northern Ireland. He has a personal best of 149 and running on the outside in lane 7. Eric Kamau for Washington State. Those are the two to watch, Dan.
Yeah, Eric Kamau, Chuggy, was second in the 1500 behind Bernard Kip-Lagat. He's got a 150 PR indoors, but we're missing Rosto Kiplingat, who wasn't here today. Kind of confusing. You get a lot of these Kenyan names mixed up, but he was supposed to be here, but he's down with the flu and didn't make the trip at all.
First 800 of the year for Kamau.
He probably only had about a 45-minute turnaround since that 1500, so we'll see how he fares here.
Scott Kalenic out very strong. 6th of the Pac-10s a year ago. The senior from San Diego has the lead as they come across for the bell lap. Gervin in second. The Ducks looking to try to make it a sweep right now as Newman has moved up into third. Kamau's going to really have to kick just to get into the points.
Here comes Gervin with about 200 meters to go.
Kamau moving up into third place now. He's going to have to have a strong finishing kick, and you're right, Gervin sitting very well now, has moved comfortably up.
And here comes Chuggy on the outside, looking to take over second.
Big roar for Richard Gervin, who just recently became eligible for the Ducks, and he's going to pick up a victory in the 800. Closing strong for third, Rob Harris of Washington State, and he will take third. Richard Gervin with the win for Oregon.
Ooh, that third place point was so vital for Washington State. Excellent race. Gervin made a strong move with 200 meters to go.
Gervin listed unofficially at 151.31, which would be just inside of his time of a week ago at 51.32.
Tough day to run the 800 meters. The wind's really screaming down that backstretch now. As you can see the flags just blowing into the outfield here by the discus ring, or their hammer ring, excuse me.
Richard Gervin with a big victory for Oregon in the men's 800 meters. Time now for a Bucharski update. Let's go to our Piotr Bureau and Bob Akamian.
Well, Bucharek looking to be the hero of the day for Oregon. Important points, anchor of the relay. He's just beginning the pole vault competition now. Now, he hasn't attempted a height yet, but he has a chance to win it if he can just clear one height, 17 feet, 3/4 inch. He's missed his first attempt. He has 2 more to go, so Bucharski can complete a very impressive day. He says he doesn't want to be a heptathlete, but I think John Gillespie might start trying to convince him to attempt that event. An update on the 4x100 relay. The Duck men have been reinstated as winners of that race. Now, Oregon was DQ'd because the third leg was lined up improperly. They picked the wrong yellow mark on the track. The officials have reconsidered. No competitive advantage granted Oregon, so the Ducks get those 10 points back. And now the Duck men are in much better shape as the team race goes down to the wire. Gentlemen.
We move to the women's 400-meter intermediate hurdles. Kish Hennis, a class of this field, in lane 2. Lane 3 now vacated. Melissa Abramson is in 4, Autumn Wood in 5, and Molly Lumen in 6. Watch for Hennis at the bottom of your screen on the inside. Already a Pac-10 qualifier at this distance.
Hennis won the 400 meters not even a half an hour ago, so this just goes to show you how tough these 400 meter hurdlers have to be.
Again, keep the stagger in mind. Hennis at the right of your screen, but running on the inside.
And she ran out of lane 2. That's kind of tight here in these 400-meter hurdles. You really want a middle lane or an outside lane to run these hurdles, but it doesn't seem to be really affecting her.
Melissa Abramson also out very strong. Hennis just overtaking her there on the backstretch and into the turn. Hennis a week ago at Stanford turning in a time of 1 minute 98 100ths of a second, and she's going to be outside of that again. The breeze making it a little bit tougher as we go along with the fact that, as Dan mentioned, she's just pulled off a double.
101.34 for her. That's unofficial, but that's an excellent time on a cold day like this, especially seeing that she only ran the 400 meters just a half an hour ago.
6th in the Pac-10s in this event a year ago. The junior from Baker City coming up with the victory for the Ducks in the women's 400-meter hurdles. Watch Tish Hennis in action once again.
The 400-meter hurdles is such a technical event. People don't realize you have to reach a certain number of steps in between each hurdle. Right there, it looks like she was on about a 17 stride. She's got about 1 hurdle to go. Chops it down a little to adjust her stride, and she's over. Not the greatest technical hurdler, but very, very strong.
Hey.
Men's 400 meters set in lane 2. Excuse me, the men's
400 meter
400 meter hurdles, yeah. Men's 400 meter hurdles in lane 2, Jermaine Hunsaker of Washington State. Lane 3, Jeremy Alden, Oregon. Lane 4, Paul Summer of Washington State. Lane 5, Will Dreesen of Oregon. Lane 6, Trevor Wyckoff, Washington State. Lane 7, Chris Holzgraf of Oregon.
The race should take place in the middle of the track between Paul Summer and Will Dreesen. They're both tall men. Paul Summer's just a freshman this year. I know Will Dreesen had a good race last week at Stanford. Summers usually comes on late. We'll see if he can come on late today. Looks like Dreesen's got about 2 or 3 meter advantage at this point.
Dreesen with a 53.87 best so far this year. Summer with a 53.82, but Dan Dreesen looking very comfortable right here.
Yeah, Summer had to stutter on that hurdle, which really threw his tempo off. He might have been able to catch him, but he's just coming on too late now.
Dreesen will come up with the win. Summer second, and Jermaine Hunsaker, the freshman, coming up to get points in third for Washington State. Summer looking to get down a little bit better to 53.82 as we said a week ago, and Dreesen with a PR of 51.89. He's unofficially on the board at 53.26, which would lower his season best by about 0.6 of a second, and a victory in the 400 meter hurdles for Will Dreesen. We will return to Hayward Field, our activity continuing. Dreesen is qualified for the Pac-10s unofficially. We'll be right back. Again, in this dual meet, we take a look at an outstanding field competitor today. Moving into the discus now, the defending Pac-10 champion, Ian Waltz of Washington State, a junior from Post Falls, Idaho.
Ian's a big guy, strong as ever, really good technique. Finished 4th last year at the NCAA championships. Ooh, he threw that one out there, clear past the 180-foot marker. I think he finished, he throws 198 feet 2 inches. That's a personal best for him. It's just good discus win today.
He's already qualified for the NCAAs a week ago, but he raises his mark from Stanford by more than a foot. He was 196.11 a week ago, now at 198.2, and a PR for Ian Waltz in the discus. That action continuing as we move now to the women's 200 meters. And our lane assignments: in lane 2, Hillary Hawley. Lane 3 for Washington State, Tamika Brown, the WSU school record holder and a Pac-10 qualifier thus far. Lane 4, Nicole Commissiong, looking to qualify in the 200. Atrina Higgins in lane 5, Aisha Wallace in lane 6, and Sharika Higgins in lane 7.
Can Nicole Commission break up the Washington State University sprinters here? Tamika Brown got out early on the inside in lane 3.
Brown on 3, and then it's Sharika Higgins to the left of your screen on the outside in lane 7.
Here comes Nicole Commission, but she's not going to catch Tamika Brown and Sharika Higgins.
Brown and Higgins go 1-2. Commission comes up for third place. There's a look at Sharika Higgins. Unofficially 23:98 the time for Tamika Brown, which would equal her school record if that stands. She set that mark indoors, the 23:98, and again Pac-10 qualifying mark at that figure for her, just outside the NCAA provisional of 23.6. And again, that's an unofficial time, but would equal her WSU school record. So a very strong run right there, Dan.
Really strong by Tamika. She seems to be just running better every week. Here we see Sharika Higgins. We didn't even know if she was going to make the trip this week. She had knee trouble early on, but she said she wanted to come and contribute and score points against the Oregon team. So great job by her today.
Part of the crowd on hand here at Hayward Field as we get set to move now to the men's 200-meter race. Jody Mortimer in lane 3, Guillermo Macias in lane 4, Nat Johnson to watch in lane 5, Colin Sewell in 6, Kevin Howard in 7. Johnson, who's had a very strong meet so far, looking to lower his time. Mortimer has the best for the Ducks so far this season at 21:77 on March 21st at the Oregon Preview. First time at 200 meters this year for Guillermo Macias, who has a career mark of 21.60.
Remember, Colin Sewell false started in the 100 meters. There's only 2 Washington State competitors in this race. He needs to run well. Very even as they come around the corner. Here comes Guillermo Macias in lane 4.
Macias and Sewell. In the middle of them is Nat Johnson. Macias and Johnson. Johnson starting to pull away. Can Nat Johnson get the win? At the tape, Johnson edges Macias. Kevin Howard appearing to take third for Oregon.
21:61. That's an incredible time for Nat Johnson.
Just 4/100ths off of his career best if that time stands. And Nat Johnson picking up a big win for the Ducks in the 200 meters.
Here we see him coming down the home stretch. Really a contrast in styles. Guillermo's probably putting 2 strides into every one of Nat Johnson's 1 stride. Just a half a meter ahead. Good race, really good race.
And the celebration by Johnson, which left Macias shaking his head. A victory for Nat Johnson in the 200. We'll be back with more between the Ducks and the Cougars on Fox Sports Net. Field in Eugene, our Pac-10 track and field action continues between Washington State and Oregon. An update in the women's team scoring. Oregon in front of the women's by a 9-point margin following 9 events. And in the men's action, again, that relay swing proving to be a little bit crucial as the Ducks up by 9 following 13 events. To the women's 1,500 meters, and the young lady there closest to the camera looking to double, Marie Davis, will head the field in this event. Davis, one of 3 qualifiers at the Pac-10 qualifying mark. She also has an NCAA provisional mark already in this event. She's in lane 1, Charlotte Neal in lane 2, Annie Ebener in lane 3. Ebener is qualified for the Pac-10s. Lisa Chafee in 4, Pam Fields in 5, and Kim Schmolka, running the 1,500 for the first time this year, is in lane 6. Dan, we saw Marie Davis kind of just set her own pace earlier. No reason to expect anything less here in the 1,500.
No reason at all. You know, the only thing different between now and then was it was a little bit warmer. And I'm probably embarrassed to say, but I would take her personal best in a decathlon right now.
Davis had a 4:19.60 a week ago at Stanford. That's just a second and a half, actually 1.6 if you really want to be picky, off an NCAA automatic qualifying mark in the 1,500.
That's going to be tough for her to get today because of the weather. But today it's all about points like we talked about earlier. And again, it's a good opportunity to see what the Washington State athletes can do. Can they break up the Oregon sweep?
I don't know, Mike.
Davis again running out in front. Ebener in second for Oregon. as they come by the Hayward Field stands for the first time. Kim Schmolka running in third. We mentioned all of Davis's accomplishments, including her All-American and NCAA finish a year ago. Also had a great cross-country season. She placed 9th at the NCAA cross-country meet and earned All-America honors there once again.
72nd first lap. It's 4:20 pace.
Just kind of runs effortlessly. She just doesn't appear to be straining at all. Keeps that comfortable margin and then just kicks it when she wants to.
That's what distance running is all about. You know, we sometimes laugh when we watch the Kenyans just take off because it looks so effortless, but the good distance runners make it look easy.
Dan, she has such a relaxed stride, that good arm carriage all the way through the stride.
She really does. She doesn't look like she's ever in trouble. You know, you see some runners really look like they're struggling to keep up. She doesn't ever look like she's ever hurting or tired or fatigued in any way.
Davis in front, Ebner in second, Schmolka in third.
If Kim Schmolka can hang in there, she could really run a personal best here.
Schmolka ran a 5K earlier this year, a little over 18:20 at the Tri-Cities, and I think that's something we really haven't discussed much. Keep in mind, for many of these athletes, it's only the second or third meet of the year, maybe not even the second or third time at a particular distance, but second or third meet overall. So it's still early in the season, and we're seeing some great marks.
Yeah, you're right. You know, we've got some big meets coming up. We've still got Mount Sac relays to go to. We've still got the Pepsi Team Invitational, Penn relays, things like that, and then we get into our conference meet at the Pac-10 Championships in Stanford. So it is early for these athletes. They've been running indoors and they just started to get outside here, but we really have a long ways to go. 2 more solid months of competition.
Davis stretching it out once again as she heads down to take the bell lap. And a good battle now shaping up between Ebner for Oregon and Schmolka for Washington State for second place. 3:19 at the line. Schmolka having to take that little extra, running her on the outside of Ebner all the way around as they head into the final lap. Again, Davis at 4:19.60 a week ago with a PR, and if she can lower that by a second and a half or so, she'll be right at the automatic NCAA qualifying time for the distance. She has the provisional mark safely tucked away by more than 5 seconds, and that's good too, because that low provisional mark, Dan, had put her in the field very early if the automatics don't fill out the field in the 1500.
Yeah, but you fully expect an athlete like this to make their automatic qualifications. There's too many good meets yet to come for her to have an opportunity in nicer weather with better competition.
It's not going to be today. There you see the battle for second. Schmolka trying to challenge Ebner. Davis is going to ease a little bit in the home stretch. She's watching the clock, as you can see, and knows she has the win comfortably tucked away. She'll come in right at about 4:30, make it 4:29.60 unofficially. Schmolka will take second place in a very strong time for Kim Schmolka as she finishes second. She had a career best of 4:33.83 prior to today, and this was her first 1500 of the season. And Annie Ebner will take third for Oregon, but a victory for Marie Davis, her second in this dual meet.
4:35. Annie Ebner.
We go to the pole vault. Bob Akamian has the latest from there. Bob.
Well, it was an exciting finish as Piotr Bucharski, in his 4-event day, came in late, started at 17 3/4 inches, cleared immediately. He'd already won the event. He put the bar up to 17:10. That was going to be his season best. He clears that handily and wins the event. There was one more height to try, though, and that was 18.2.5. Would have got him into the NCAAs. That attempt fell short, but quite a day for you. You anchor the winning relay, you run in the 100 and score, and you get in the long jump and score. Had a very big jump there. And then in the pole vault, when are we going to see you in the decathlon?
Well, hopefully I won't have to do the decathlon. I'm pretty bad at throws, but the other events seem to be pretty good. My speed has improved from last year. I don't have much endurance because we don't practice endurance too much. But I'm looking forward to competing in a couple of events for Oregon this year.
Mentally, how hard is it to get away from the pole vault, not be here during the early stages and do the other events? You seem to pretty easily gather yourself mentally for your first vault.
Well, sometimes it helps not to think about your own event too much. Helps to relax, and knowing that one height is enough to win. Also, kind of after that's done, the pressure is off, and I could think more about my techniques than about forcing myself to run faster or anything like that.
And Dan, you'll appreciate this. A true story about Piotr. Last year, they take him to Fresno to try a decathlon, but he no-heighted in the pole vault. Back to you guys.
Thanks very much, Bob. We'll try and get an update on how many programs and popcorn he's sold in between as well. When we return, the men's 5,000 between the Cougars.
He has tormented Hillary Mawindi in the past year, and as they went to the final attempt, Bleakney was trailing the Washington State jumping ace. But the son of a Cougar came through big. 52-6. He knew it as soon as he was in the pit, and Bleakney gets the victory in the triple jump. Mawindi leads a Cougar effort in second and third, but Bleakney gets the big 5 points. And again, one of the Bleakney brothers torments their father's old school. In the men's discus, Ian Waltz, a sure thing for a double? You bet. And now he's in the 200 club in Pullman. 2 throws over 200 feet. 203, and the winner, it came early. This one sailing 206 even. And Ian Waltz, with his big early season, is guaranteed 2 tickets to the NCAA championships in Buffalo. 206 the winning throw. Ryan Cole, an important second place for Oregon in the team points category. Now let's go back to Dan and Todd for the exciting finish of the men's 5,000 meters.
Thanks very much, Bob, and some important marks there as well for Bleakney. That's an NCAA provisional qualifying mark in the triple jump. And for Waltz, as mentioned, there's 3 throws at least over his lifetime best of a week ago. And the winner, less than 3 feet away from John Van Rienen's all-time school record in the discus for Washington State. So a big day there for Ian Waltz, Dan.
Well, Ian just keeps getting better and better as the season goes on. He's probably the strongest guy at Washington State University, if you can believe that. Stronger than even all the football players. He bench pressed 500 pounds twice. And most guys do a one bench max, but he is so strong right now.
Somebody better not let Mike Price know about that, or
I don't think he wants to play football. I think he wants a world record in the discus before it's all over.
Mike will be down pleading. We're just inside 3 laps to go, make it about 2.5 now as they go up the backstretch, and Andrew Bliss out in front for Oregon. John Murray running in second place for Washington State.
John Murray's one of those athletes just really works so hard in practice each and every day. He had a great practice on Wednesday of this week, and was really hoping to run well this week, and he looks like he's doing a great job.
Murray qualified for the Pac-10s a week ago with a 14:29.5 down at Stanford. Bliss did the same, running 14:24 and change. Davis coming up in third now, surging past a little bit. And this is where you're kind of the loneliest man in Eugene if you're John Murray, because you know those 3 guys in the green and gold are going to do all they can to try to break you.
He looks nice and comfortable right now, and you knew that Micah Davis was going to do something with about a half a mile to go. We'll see if John Murray can just hang in there, because if he can stick with him with 1 lap to go, it's all about guts then.
Davis with a mark about 8 seconds better than anyone else in the field. Again, he is 14:06.01 at Stanford a week ago.
Here's where those Oregon guys gang up on you. And they might even try a little box trick, or just even play even just a little shoving match just to take you out of your rhythm a little bit. That's not an uncommon thing in the distance races, but it's a clean race so far, and I think it's all going to come down to who wants to kick with 300 or 400 meters to go.
And the advantage a little bit for the Ducks, too, with that depth, should Davis falter at all, and he doesn't look tired. Murray's going to try to take a little bit of the steam out of the Ducks here early, and that's not a bad strategy when he's running 1-on-3.
Not a bad strategy at all, because maybe he knows that these guys have a little bit better sprint speed. He wants to try to take it out of them just a little early.
Bergquist, the freshman, follows him. Then it's Davis running along with Bliss. But Murray might have made a very smart move there early to try to take any kind of finishing kick out. And, of course, Davis may be a little bit fatigued from the extra running. But right now it's Murray leading the way.
Well, he opened that up in a hurry. I don't think those guys knew what hit him. They're really looking like they're struggling to catch up now, and I don't think they're going to be able to. With about 150 meters to go, it's all John Murray.
The senior from Lakewood, Washington, who began his career at Eastern Washington University. You didn't expect to see him out in front at the end. You figured it was Lagat's race, but he's scratched, and Murray has silenced his crowd. Now they give him a sort of courtesy round of applause.
He's
John Murray with a big win here.
By 50 meters, he beats these guys. Beautiful.
Unofficially at 14:25.72, that would be a career best for Murray. Bergquist in second, Davis is in third, and Bliss takes fourth. But a big victory there for John Murray, who's got to be very pleased with his results at a 14:25.72 unofficially to capture the 5,000 meters, and a little bit of an upset there over the Oregon trio.
It really was an upset. He just took off with about 450 meters to go. I think what we're seeing here, though, is the double taking the toll on Micah Davis.
Very good point indeed. Murray with smart strategy to get the win. When we return, the final races of the day, the 4x400 meter relays in Eugene. Field in the final stages of our dual meet between Oregon and Washington State. Getting set for relay action, 4x400 meters for both the women and the men. While we wait for those relays and get folks in stride, let's get some updates, some results with Bob Akamian.
With the women's pole vault, and no surprise at all, the Ducks go 1-2. We told you about Elstrom. She gets up to 11.6 for her winning mark, and Holly Spate finishes second. The women's discus, a very nice run today for Heidi Fisk, 160. That is a career best, and the Ducks go 1-2 in the women's disc. The men's javelin is complete for the day, and again, no surprise, everybody's in the 200 club today. Stadelman and Nichols both over 200 for the Cougars. They finish 1-3. The men's high jump, a very good field, and Damian Olson, an outstanding freshman story for the Ducks. His second time over 7 feet, 7.5 as he ties with rushing of Washington State. Damian Olson, again, a developing story, a freshman for the University of Oregon, and a major contender looking ahead to the Pac-10s. Now on the track, the women's 4x400 meter relay. Let's go back to the tower. Todd Pickett, Dan O'Brien.
Thanks very much, Bob, and a couple outstanding performances for those two high jumpers. In fact, at 7.5, they both have reached automatic qualifying in the NCAAs. And for rushing, that's the first time he's ever been over 7 feet in the high jump. So it's been a jumpers and throwers day. The 4x400 meter relay, you see Wallace, Crabb, Sutherland, and Commission for Oregon. Henderson, Buterbaugh, Wood, and Neal for Washington State.
Well, they'll run this first leg in lanes, excuse me. And then when they give the baton to the second individual, they'll run the first 100 meters in their lanes, and then they'll cut in. See, look how cold it is. I'm shaking up here. I can't get anything straight.
How'd you like to be the folks down in the singlets here?
Yeah.
The second runners are trying to blow on their hands, trying to keep warm, and good luck trying to hang on to the baton on the exchange as well. Katie Crabb jogging back and forth in the lane as she waits for Aisha Wallace. Wallace out with a big margin over Nicole Henderson for Washington State. The Ducks looking to complete a sweep here with a relay victory in both events. Wallace handing off to Katie Crabb. And for Washington State, a change there.
This is Autumn Wood.
Wood was supposed to be the third leg, but she's running 2 now.
400-meter hurdler. I think the team scores are pretty irrelevant at this point, so Washington State just just did a put-together team at the last minute. They kind of probably asked half a dozen people to see who wanted to run and who needed the work.
You got the short straw, and you're going. Katie Crabb, the Pac-10 qualifier already at 800 meters, and she's stretched this well out. This is a good workout for an 800 runner too, Dan.
Well, it really is, you know, and this is Oregon's strength. They've always had 400-meter runners. As we saw, they weren't really strong in the 1 and the 2, but they were very strong in the 4 and the 8 and the 400 hurdles. But there's a little posturing going on here. When you're this far ahead in the relay, you want to run a good time because you're out there kind of showcasing what you can do. And it looks like Oregon is going to run a good team, but not their best team, because we don't see Tish Hannes out there. She was the winner of the 400 meters and the 400-meter hurdles.
Robin Sutherland running this leg for Oregon. Good look at Sutherland, who ran earlier in the 8. Buderbaugh is going to run the anchor leg now for Washington State, apparently.
That's Charlotte Neal for Washington
right, on
State.
3.
She's more of a distance runner, 800, 1500.
Look at the difference in build here between the anchor runners as we come down, Dan. You've got Commission with the sprinter's build and Buderbaugh, the 800-meter runner. And Nicole Commission just dwarfs Alicia Buderbaugh as she takes the baton for the anchor lap.
Well, I don't think Nicole would want to race Boots in the 8, and I don't think Boots would want to race Nicole in the quarters. So you always have 800-meter runners who run on the 400 because of their strength. They're able to go through a meet, come back and run a nice 400 at the end of the meet. So it's not uncommon that we did see a lot of 800-meter runners here in this final event for the women.
Oregon's best time so far this year in the relay, a 3:55.21. That was Wallace, Morris, Commission, and Crabb. Last week, Wallace, Hennis, Crabb, and Commission on the anchor did a 3:56.01. And Nicole bringing it down the home stretch now. She will lead the Ducks to a victory in the final event of the day on the women's side. Maybe make up for a little bit of the disappointment that she had earlier in the meet.
Well, last year she didn't run at this meet, and they lost by a point.
Wow, 3:50.72 unofficially the finish, so they significantly lower their time. Not close to a provisional mark, but still very good. And Buderbaugh brings Washington State home unofficially at 3:59.43.
This will be an interesting race at the Pac-10 meet when Washington State runs their best people. There were quite a few women that Washington State didn't run today. So when we get to Stanford at the Pac-10 meet, I'm sure we'll see Sharika Higgins and Atrina Higgins as well.
Wrapping up men's competition with the 4x400 meter relay. Washington State on the inside. The Cougars with Paul Summer.
Looks like
Rob Harris may be running first leg now. What do you think?
No, that's Paul Summer.
It is Paul still, okay.
And we're going to see Colin Sewell on the second leg.
John Cote and Rob Harris now, I guess, on the anchor. So they've kind of juggled it again on us now. And then Nat Johnson, Richard Gervin, Dreesen, and Moore running for Oregon in the 4x400.
I sure like the looks of this Nat Johnson. Nice long stride. He's very aggressive. Paul Summer, a 400-meter hurdler. And we see big things for him at Washington State before his college career is over.
Johnson got Pac-10 points a year ago in the long jump, so he could be doing some double damage for the Ducks at the conference level as well this year.
Kind of a makeshift relay again for Washington State. They probably just asked around who wanted to run, who didn't. And here we see Colin Sewell, who false started out of the 100 meters and ran the 2. This is probably punishment for him.
A slight edge for Washington State going to leg 2. Sewell for the Cougars, Gervin for the Ducks. And they'll be able to break out of the stagger now.
Let's take a look at Gervin here. Guy's got a lot of strength. We'll see if he can make up some ground here on Colin Sewell. Colin Sewell's the kind of guy, though, when he doesn't perform up to his abilities, he goes the extra mile, like jumps in the 4x4, just so that he can get a little better. Gervin's making up a little bit of that stagger here around the far corner. Or should I say a lot of that?
Going to make it an interesting race all the way around. Gervin, who's a middle distance guy, just blows right by Sewell. Look out, folks. He just became eligible. He could be deadly. The young man from Belfast.
And here's a 400-meter hurdler, Will Dreesen, and John Cody, who's an 800, 1500-meter guy, but is trying to step it down to run some more speed races.
Cody, the freshman. Dreesen, again the hurdler. He was 5th in the conference a year ago. Got your hurdlers and long jumpers running relay legs successfully. You know you're going to have some depth for the year.
I'll tell you, those 400-meter hurdlers, they have the hardest jobs because they're the guys and women who are in the most shape.
And now Cody trying to turn it around and do what Gervin did a lap ago, trying to close a little bit on Dreesen. It's been seesaw. Harris for the Cougars, Moore for the Ducks, almost dead even, but Moore takes off strong for the final lap.
Well, I'll tell you, if Harris could beat Moore on this last leg, I think Washington State found themselves a quarter miler they didn't know they had, because Harris is mainly a 1500-meter guy.
Moore running comfortably. Just really not even breaking stride much. The sophomore from Concord, California.
Woo, he's opening it up now.
Okay, you can stand up now.
150 meters to go. Like I told you, there's some posturing going on here. It's for the crowd, for the home crowd, to bring it home strong.
The Ducks sweep the relays. They'll come up with a sweep of the dual meet as well, as Howard Moore brings it home for Oregon. Unofficially 3:17:57, not a season best for the Ducks, and comes up with the win for Oregon to close out the scoring. 5 more points in the Ducks column.
Nice job.
Johnson, Gervin, Dreesen, and Moore bring it home for Oregon. Back to wrap things up, give you a look at the point totals, and much more when we return to Hayward Field. The dual meet between the Cougars and the Ducks wrapped up at Hayward Field, and we take a look at final totals for today's competition in this Pac-10 meet. On the men's side, the Ducks with a victory over the Cougars 90-73, and on the women's side, that home field advantage playing strong as well. The Ducks, who have only lost once, and that was a year ago in Pullman to the Cougars, pick up a 91-63 win. Dan, we saw a lot of the Oregon depth today and some outstanding individual performances as well.
Oh, we really did. You know, my two